What?
What? Okay. We have had some people asking us about what happened at my lovely mother-in-law's house.
Mm.
I call her monster-in-law. Now that's her new name. What are you doing? They're not hurting nothing.
Mm.
As long as they're not back there making noise, it's fine. But anyway, and I wrote a little clip about what happened on the last video, but it's like I wrote it and it's hard to read because I needed to slow it down a little bit. But we decided to get on here and explain. I mean, this is going to be a long story, so just so that you know. We started out, we decided, we were in Indiana and we decided that we were going to do, we wanted to minimalize our lives and live in an RV and save up the money to buy some land. So we bought an RV and we packed it all up, and last summer my husband's mother had been asking us to come down to her farm. I call it a farm, but it's not really a farm. It's more like a scrap yard with in a landfill. But she invited us to come, and she wanted us to help her clean up the property and everything. And but it never happened. We didn't plan on doing that. But our plan was we were going to go down there and visit for Christmas, and then we were going to use her place as like a what do you call it? A home base where we would get our mail and things like that, and then come back there every once in a while to visit and hang out and just pretty much be a home base. So we got there and we were, like I said, we were just going to visit, and the RV broke down. So we were stuck, and his mom asked him if we would just stay there because she wanted, like I said, she wanted us to help her clean up the property, and she wanted to rent us some property for us to put a house or a trailer or whatever on. And well, anyway, we made an agreement with his mother that we were going to rent the back part of her property, and that we were going to pay her $300 a month to stay there. And because we bought a pony and we opened up her livestock pens, she had some land back there that which she had fenced in, and it was all overgrown. So Brian and the kids and I went down there and we cleaned it all up, and we got it ready for the pony, and we made it look real nice, and we burnt all the trash and everything that was down there. And so we got ready for the house to be put back there. And so the RV was still broke down and sitting in her driveway, and we had made an agreement with his brother that he was going to fix our carburetor, and that we were going to pay him for the carburetor. Well, he decided that he wanted to buy our truck for his girlfriend. So then we knew we needed to get a bigger vehicle anyway. So we went ahead and bought another truck and told him that if he paid us $800 plus he got the new truck running well and fixed the carburetor on Grandpa, the RV, that we would let him make payments on the truck. The original agreement was that he was supposed to pay once a week about $50 a week. Well, he paid the first week and then skipped a week and then paid $100 the week after that. So in all, he gave us $150. He worked on the truck, got it running for a couple of days, literally, and then it broke down again. And he never put the carburetor back on the RV. So and in this time, his girlfriend is driving our truck around. We kept the title, and we were letting him make payments. So, but he wasn't making his payments on time. So, our truck, the one that he was supposed to fix, broke down. We were stuck. Where were we stuck? We were stuck somewhere, like in Casey County somewhere. And so we got. Oh, no, it was Russell Springs. We were stuck in Russell Springs. Yeah, because
the first time it was Casey County.
Okay, well, the second time, the day that all the bad stuff went down. It was on a Saturday. It wasn't accelerating, and it just wasn't running right, and so we stopped by his girlfriend's work, asked her where it was. I guess I shouldn't say their names. I'll beep that out later. Okay. For the sake of future reference, we'll call her what? Crackhead? Okay, so we call her that because she has a drug problem and has been arrested like 7 times for assault and drugs, and had all of her children taken away, and she's just a real upstanding person. But anyway, so she's driving her truck around. Our truck broke down again. This is the second time after he said it was fixed. And so they towed us back to his mother's house and set the truck down. I got out of the truck and I went down to check on the pony, and Brian went in the house, the in-laws' house. So I'm walking back across the yard, and as I'm going across the yard, I pass the in-laws' house. I see my husband flying out the front door, and his brother was standing in the doorway screaming at him. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? My husband just flew out the door. Like, not running of his own accord. He was pushed out the door. And his brother was screaming at him, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? So he ran back in, or pushed his way back in, I guess. I don't know. I didn't see how he got back in, but Mitchell moved or something. But he got back in, and I walked in behind him, and he starts yelling, we're paying to live here, we've been paying you rent. And his mother is sitting in the chair in front of the window, and you can't really call him your stepdad or whatever, because they're not married, but it's another complicated situation. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, so his dad, for all intents and purposes, he's sitting on the other side of the room, and they're all just screaming at each other, and I was trying to figure out what's going on, and he's yelling, we've paid to be here, why did you turn off our electricity? And I didn't even know the electricity had been turned off at that point. I went straight down to the pony and came back, and so I didn't know that they had turned off our electric. So I'm like, what is this about? What's going on? And his mom's not saying a word, not saying anything about the fact that we've been giving her money. Because, okay, when we first made the arrangement, she told us that she didn't want her partner, husband, whatever you want to call him, to know how much she was getting, because she didn't want him to take the money. So she wanted us to lie to him and tell him that we were that we weren't paying anything, that we were just living there. So he didn't know that we were paying for the electric and paying her rent. So, But she's not, at this point, she didn't say a word. She didn't stick up for us or nothing. He just turned off our electric and was saying that how we were wasting his electric, how we don't pay anything. And so at this point, he's screaming, we're paying to live here and blah, blah, blah. And his brother just grabs him by the back of the neck and threw him out the door again. And I was like, hold up, this is, stop. And they both came back in. Brian sat down in a chair behind me in the kitchen. And the in-laws and the brother's girlfriend and the brother were sitting in the living room. I'm in between the kitchen that's behind me and the living room that's in front of me. Will you just quit? They're not hurting anything.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. As long as they're not making so much noise that we can't talk. So I'm standing in between and I'm asking my in-laws what's going on, and he's telling me that we're wasting his electric. And I looked to the mother-in-law and I said, I made an agreement with you about how much we're paying to be here. Is that deal off? I said, do you not want us to pay you to be here anymore? Because if you don't want us to be here, that's fine. We'll just give us 2 weeks and we'll leave. Well, in that time, my husband was back there saying, we pay to be here, blah, blah, blah. And he stood up while he was saying that, and his brother jumped up and slammed him into a chair. Well, this is the third time that he's put his hands on my husband, and I've had enough of it. So he's on top of my husband in this chair. And so I turned around and I grabbed him, the brother, by the back of the shirt, and I pulled him off. And I'm trying to get myself in between the two of them so that they're not fighting. I didn't hit anybody. I did not punch the brother at any time. I just pulled him off and was trying to put myself in between the two of them so that they didn't fight. Well, as I'm doing that, the crackhead, the brother's girlfriend, who is supposed to be pregnant at this point, she's since a month. She claimed she's at least supposed to be a month and a half pregnant at this point. She jumps onto my back and starts hitting me, screaming, "Oh no, you are not touching my man, blah, blah, blah." And so I'm in between, and I pushed her back because at this point I'm thinking she's pregnant and I don't want her to get hurt. That was my total intention. I thought, she's just upset. I'm going to protect her from getting hurt. I pushed her back with my arm like that. Well, then she continues to hit me and moves around me and gets in my face. And she's screaming in my face that she don't care who I am, and she just goes all, I'm not a racist, I swear. But when a white person starts acting black, when they've never even been in the inner city, and like, she's like podunk country girl, and she's like talking to me in Ebonics. This is how silly this was. I was laughing at her and telling her she needed to back up because she was going to get hurt. She wouldn't listen, so I was pushing her gently towards the living room, hoping that the other people in the living room would get a hold of her. So I'm yelling at her, back up, back up, back up, you're going to get hurt. And then they finally got a hold of her, and she's still screaming at me all kinds of insults, picks up a pop can and hit me in the shoulder. She threw a full pop can hit me in the shoulder. And at that point, I lost my religion. I started screaming back at her and said some very nasty things that I regret. And which I did apologize for later. I went to her boyfriend when he came out into the yard, and I said I was sorry for the things that I said. I said I was just trying to keep her from getting hurt, and she was going off on me. I said she's lucky she was pregnant. I said because anybody else would have ended up swallowing their teeth for the things that she was saying to me and after she hit me. And that's just who I am. I have a really bad temper, and it took many years for me to learn how to control that. So after they got a hold of her and we exchanged words, and she was blocked into the living room where I couldn't get at her and she couldn't get at me, I finally just walked out the door. Well, apparently after I walked out, she was still trying to get out the door to me and elbowed the mother-in-law in the ribs. And according to what was told to us, the mother-in-law was down for 2 or 3 days in the chair, could not get up, could not move, and I was feeding her. I was making her meals and taking care of her while she was down. She told us, well, the first explanation was she got hit in the ribs during the scuffle. The second explanation, after she came back from the chiropractor, then she started saying that she tripped on one of the kids' Legos and cracked her ribs. And the last known report that I got from her sister is that she's telling everyone that I broke her ribs. Apparently I broke 3 of her ribs and bruised her kidneys. Now, the woman has told 3 different stories about how this happened. And 2, when she was explaining to me and Brian what the chiropractor said, that she had 3 cracked ribs, she actually demonstrated to us how she apparently stepped on a Lego, and she literally flung herself up against the wall to demonstrate to us how she had tripped on this Lego and cracked her ribs on the wall. Now, as I watched her doing that, I was in my head thinking, if you have 3 cracked ribs, how is it that you were able to just demonstrate to me the way you just did? 2 minutes ago, you couldn't hardly stand up straight, and now you just flung yourself up against this wall?
Yeah.
To show me that you have how this happened.
Yeah.
Which I knew she was lying, because she didn't want to have to admit that the crackhead had hurt her. Because at this point, they all think the crackhead is still pregnant. So, a few days go by. Oh, as I was walking out the door that day, I told them that I wanted them to bring back my truck. Because they hadn't kept up their end of the deal. They hadn't fixed either one of our vehicles. And they hadn't paid us what they were supposed to pay us. So, I called her. What day was it? Okay, that was Saturday. She went to work Sunday. And I left a message at her work on Monday. For her to call me back. She didn't call me back. So Tuesday, they said she would be into work later that day. She went to work. Tuesday, I called again. I said, when is she going to be at work? And they said that she was going to be in later that day. So I called back later that day, and I spoke to her personally, and I said, I need you to bring back my truck. Because I'm not going to sell it to you anymore. I said, I'm done with the situation. I just want my truck back. So what she said to me was, I am coming to you now, and I will take care of this, was what she said to me. And so I knew from the way that she sounded when she got there that it was not going to be a good thing. And So I told Brian that she was on her way, and I told his dad, the father-in-law, that she said she was coming. And so he had went into the house and apparently told his non-wife, whatever she is, that they were coming, and they decided that they were going to leave. They said that they needed to go to the store. And they invited my husband and my oldest son to come with them. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, I'm not really sure what to do, because I knew that she was coming. And the in-laws left. Brian went with them and my oldest son. And I was really confused. What are you doing? About why everybody just left me there by myself when they knew she was coming. I found out later that it was a setup. That they knew she was coming to hurt me, and they didn't want there to be any witnesses. Brian left because he figured that she definitely wouldn't be coming till after work, so he thought that he had time to go and come back. But that's not what happened. While they were gone, me and the kids were outside cleaning the trash up, and so I was standing outside, and I saw them pull up, and I told the kids to go into the house, into the camper. And something before the mother-in-law left, she told me to go into her house and to cook for me and the kids and for Brian, and that was fine. So she had some kind of reason for wanting me to be in the house. I don't know what it was. I think she was hoping that we would fight in there and trash the place or whatever. But anyway, the crackhead and the brother showed up screaming and yelling at me as she got out of the truck. And our RV is in the driveway. They're parked behind the RV, and I was sitting between them and the house at a table. And I knew that if I got up and I walked towards my RV, that she would see that as an aggression and would come at me. Well, I had decided that I was not going to confront them at this time, because there was two of them and just me and the kids. So I thought, I really need to keep my cool, because if I get into a fight with her, then he's going to jump in. And in my younger days, I probably could have handled it, but I'm older, I've been sick, and so I wasn't going to go there. So she gets out of their truck and starts screaming at me. I went to the police and they said I don't have to give you back your truck. You have to take me to small claims court. And I said, well, that's bull crap. I said, because you haven't been making your payments. You didn't hold up the agreement. I said, whatever. If that's what we got to do, then that's what we'll do. I said, I'll just take her to small claims court. But it didn't end there. She continued to scream and yell at me, and she walked up at me and started telling me that I'm useless and blah, 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 and just insulting me. And then she threw her pop at me and started screaming all kinds of nasty insults. And so finally I stood up, and she ran into the house. And I was like, okay. So I sat back down, because I'm trying to cool myself down at this point, because all I want to do is beat in her face. So I sat back down in the chair, and she comes out again and screaming and yelling at me and calling me all kinds of nasty names. And this time she spits in my face. And my response to that was, go be a crack whore somewhere else. That's all that came out of my mouth. And she started screaming and yelling, oh, I'm not a crack whore, I've never done crack. Well, she had just a couple of days before that been sitting in the in-laws' house explaining how she has a drug problem. It's a continuing, ongoing drug problem. She lost a baby because she was on meth while she was pregnant, and CPS took it away. And apparently she's had several children, and all of them have been taken by CPS because of this drug problem and because she has a history of assaulting people. And she's been in and out of jail several times. So she was bragging about that. She thought that it was awesome that she was assaulting people and getting away with it. I mean, she just got out of jail 2 months ago for assault. She busted some guy's head open with something and was bragging about it. So she spit in my face that time, and I stood up, and she ran back in the house. Because at this point, I'm ready to have at her. So, but she keeps running back in the house. So I sat back down and I said, all right, I'm going to sit here. And she's going to come out at me again. I just know her because she's not had her fill yet, because she's still screaming at me from inside the house. And I also hear her screaming at the boyfriend inside the house that she's done with him and done with the family. And I had told her, in amongst her screaming, I said, you know, you broke Janet's ribs. I think you're a piece of crap. And she is like, she tried to say that she had just seen Janet the day before. And I was like, no, because she's been in her bed, or in her her recliner for the past 3 days, and I've been taking care of her because you cracked her ribs. And so she's going off on him and going off on me. And then the next time she comes out, I had been practicing earlier with bow staff, and it was actually sitting on the table in front of me, and I was actually just waiting for her to pick that up. I thought she's throwing, in amongst all of the things that she's doing, she's throwing things at me. It wasn't just a one-time pop throw, one-time spit throw. She's picking things up off the ground and throwing rocks. Anything she can get her hands on, she's throwing at me. So I had my bow staff sitting there, and I'm just waiting for her to pick that up, because if she picked that up, I was going to mess her up. I was going to mess up her world, because the last time she came out, she said, I lost my baby, I'm not pregnant anymore. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, here we go. Because at this point, I done lost my Christianity. I was ready to hurt someone. She had pushed me past the point where I could control myself. And the only reason I was controlling myself was because she was claiming to be pregnant, and I didn't want to hurt the baby. So she says she lost her baby. Okay, this is since Saturday, when she was talking about her last doctor's appointment. And she was talking about how pregnant she was and how excited they were about having the baby. So Saturday she was still pregnant, and when she jumped on me, according to her. Sunday she was still pregnant, and she went to work. And Monday she was still pregnant. She went to work. And then Tuesday she was at work when I called her. So I'm wondering in those 4 days, at what point she apparently lost this baby. Because if you lose a baby, you don't go to work. You go to the hospital. And most of the time they have to do this thing where they scrape your womb. And you're not doing anything for like a week or two. So apparently, according to her, if she was pregnant at all, which I don't believe she ever was, that she lost her baby within that 4 days since Saturday. Or 3 days, whatever. So it clicked in my head right away after she said she lost it, that she was never pregnant in the first place. So then secretly, in my heart, I don't know how to put it. I was kind of happy that she wasn't pregnant, because what I was about to do to her was going to hurt, and I didn't want to hurt her baby if she was pregnant. And if she had actually been pregnant, then I probably would have felt bad too. But because I figured, she's probably going through some things, and that's why she's acting out like this. But she had a history of assault before this, so I know she's just crazy. And I was not really going to feel guilty about what I was about to do. So then, at this point, I wasn't even thinking about where my kids were, because I was so angry. And I'm confessing these things to you because I don't want to lie. I really was going to enjoy beating her up. So the next time she comes out, she picked up a plastic bucket, a very large, it was bigger, it was about pretty big. Those great big paint buckets. And she's holding it like this, and she bashes me across this part of my arm. I went like that, and I blocked it. And she bashed this side of my elbow, and I'll show you pictures of that in the video. Jammed my shoulder. So I reached out, and I grabbed the bow staff, and I swung it around and stood up. And about the time I got up, she was done rabbited her butt back in the house. So I stood at the bottom of the stairs, and I was like, come on, you wanted to beat me up? You're talking about bouncing my fat butt across the yard. Let's go. I said, I'm done babying you. You've done badmouthed me enough, and you're obviously not going to bring me my truck back. So, here we go.
Put it back.
I was really done messing around with her.
Get out of the kitchen.
And she wouldn't come out, and she stuck her head out, and she's like, we're not leaving here, and you can't make us leave. I asked her a couple of times. I said, you just need to leave. I said, before I hurt you. That was before I got to that point. And she said she's not leaving. So I just decided that instead of hurting her, I had a second to reflect on myself, and I thought, I don't really need to do this. I don't want to hurt people. I calmed myself again, and I walked over to the RV. I mean, this has all happened really fast. I still hadn't had time to go to the RV. I would sit down to calm myself, and then she'd come out again. So this has all happened faster than what I'm explaining. And so I had my bow staff, and I went over to the RV, and I told the kids to lock the door. I said, don't come out. I said, because I'm ending this right now. I'm going to walk up to the neighbor, and I'm going to call the police. And because I was done messing with these people, I said, I'm just going to report the truck stolen and let them deal with it. So I walked to the neighbor's house, and while I was at the neighbor's house, they jumped in their truck and tore up the driveway trying to get out of there. So I sat at the neighbor's house waiting for the police to come. Well, the police finally got there maybe an hour later. And in the meantime, Brian had got back, and they were all down there at the mother-in-law's house. And so I'm sitting there talking to the police officer. And this police officer apparently turned out to be the one that she spoke to. He was a state police officer that she went and spoke to before she came to the house. And I told him what she said, that she said she didn't have to give us the truck back. And I explained to him about her assaulting me. Well, he started pretty much calling me a liar. The police officer explained to me that she had come to him before she got to our house. and that he didn't believe that she had time to go from where they were to the house and have time to assault me and everything. Even though the couple that owned the house next door had caught her on video. And he explained to me that she told him that she had been making payments on the truck, that the truck was almost paid off, and that she shouldn't have to give back the truck. And she told him that I was harassing her at work. I literally called her 3 times. Once, and I left a message. And the second day, I called to find out what time she was coming in and to speak to her personally. That was 3 times. So she told him that I was harassing her. And so he was treating me like crap and pretty much calling me a liar. And he told me that he threatened to arrest me for a false report. Even though I showed him my elbow, I was obviously hurt. The couple at the house next door explained to him that I was very upset when I got there. And so I was really upset with this police officer. And then another police officer, the county police, showed up, and he was a little bit more understanding and took my report and explained to me that we could go get the truck if we wanted it back, being that the truck belonged to us, but we could not go onto their personal property to get the truck. So I just had enough of the whole situation, and I told the in-laws that we were going to leave. And I said, in 2 weeks. And the father-in-law apologized to me for everything that had happened, but then continued to lie, saying that after that he told the police that I was the reason that his wife's ribs got broken. And just it was just a mess. And I'm glad that we're not there anymore. But there was a guy down the street that was friends with the family, and we told him that if he would fix our truck and our RV, that we would sign the title of the truck over to him. And he said that that's fine, that he would deal with it. And so that's what we did. He fixed the truck and the RV. And I had called my dad and asked him to come pick me up because I'd had enough of these people. I mean, the mother-in-law, when we confronted her about not telling the truth about how much money we were giving her, she lied again and was saying that we didn't give her enough when we had paid the entire electric bill that month. And right now our RV and our pony is sitting on this other property that we're paying $200 a month to use. And so we came up to my daughter's house to spend some time and to help her get caught up on her housework and to spend some time with the grandkids. And we're staying here until we can either get another camper or another place to live. We're not sure exactly which direction we're going yet, but we've had an offer from the man that we're renting the land from to keep renting from him, and he said that he would give us a year's lease and we could put a house on his property if we wanted to. So we have these options. We're not sure what we're going to do yet. As it stands, we're going to help my daughter get moved into another place because the place that she is in isn't very good. And so we're just kind of hanging out here. We're going back and forth to to feed the pony. And that's about it for what happened anyway. I've had a lot of Facebook confrontations where his family are accusing me of stealing from them, saying that I was the one that broke the mother-in-law's ribs. I'm trying not to use names here. But I was the one that broke her ribs when I wasn't even in the house when that happened. That we lived off of them and never paid them a penny, but I've got a paper showing that we were paying them rent. And I'm just done with the whole sordid situation. I'm glad to be out of there, and I'm doing my best not to get on Facebook anymore and look at things that people are saying about us, because it's all lies, and it doesn't really matter what they say anymore, because we don't have to deal with them, right? Yep. We're happy where we are for now. No. He's just upset because we're not on the road, and he really wants to get out and go. Like, the original plan is for us to travel around and see the United States and have fun with the kids, and that's just not happening fast enough. I mean, now we have to sell all the parts off of our old RV. We have an engine and all of the parts on the inside, like the refrigerator and the stove and the generator and things like that. We're just going to scrap it out and take it apart and sell the parts to it. Even though the engine is really good, the engine runs great. The engine sounds awesome, but it leaks really bad, and it's literally coming apart at the seams. So the body is not really, the dog has a diaper. The body's not worth saving. So that's why we're trying to find another camper. So as soon as we get that done, then we are hoping to try and stay a little closer to Courtney, because we miss her and the babies. But we want to do some traveling. So we'll see what happens, where we end up. It would be really nice if we could get them into a farmhouse with some land, and then we could just use that as home base and go back and forth from there. But we don't know. We'll see what happens. We love y'all. Keep praying for us. And we'll see you later. Bye.